My name is Thordis Arrhenius, and I'm from the School of Architecture and Design from Oslo. The Oslo School of Architecture and Design, I should say. And I want to start actually thanking Tim and Katarina, Tim Anstey and Katarina Gabrielsson, for creating this fantastic, I think, event. It's been for me, very informative. And also, I'm very pleased that you've been asking me the kind of honor to share this last day session. And I think the background to that is that I've been running a design studio in Oslo that we have named Alteration. Alteration as a critical device. And we were very when we chose the name Alteration, we were very concerned in some way to move away from transformation to alteration. In some way, transformation suggests a quite large changes in some way, that something actually goes from something to something else, even if it leaves traces. Alteration have a slightly different tune to it. I actually got it from my local dry cleaner. The dry cleaner says, hand in your clothes, we return next day, and it says alteration, him and her. So, you can hand in your jacket and they maybe pull up the arm a tiny bit, or they change the length of your trousers. And that makes huge differences. And that is what I've been trying in this studio to communicate to my students very much, to work. Sometimes it could be very big changes, also physically big changes, but to think alteration in some way, the effect, small, minor, or can have quite dramatic effects. And that also has a special kind of tradition or background who is very Norwegian, because we have a very strong tradition of transformations with Sverre Fehn, who is the legendary, or kind of the father of Norwegian modern architecture. And he had done a lot of amazing transformations, but that work very, very strongly with always, when you go in the work, you contrast. If you work on the existing, you come in and you make a very, very clear distinction between what you do, or as an architect come in, and what's there. So contrast architecture in some way. And it's just exactly that we have tried to kind of challenge very much. Working actually tighter or more into the existing, but also thinking about expanding the notion of what architecture is, or the architecture building. And in that, anyway, it always comes, and my students are very happy with this, but towards the end of the term, they tend to be very nervous. We don't have any work. We have nothing to be judged of. And they start acting, and they cut up the building, or demolish it, or they add big extensions. They want to have something to show, something to be judged on. Something, they talk about my building, for example. And that's something, we're working with it, and it's getting better, and sometimes smaller, but also larger, but trying to see that actually the work is not necessarily a transformation. And therefore, in one sense, we have used alteration as a kind of critical advice, also kind of going in to work, rethink, the whole idea about architectural history, who dates buildings. We have, how can you actually date a building? And we also have tried to kind of come up with different ways of approaching and coming close to a building, and as I said, alter it. And we have used that, what man can say, kind of crisis for the category of the architectural work. And this also kind of working between the work both as a kind of noun and a verb, working. And I think today, in this last day, that whole relationship between work and working will be taken up in relationship to alteration in a series of different ways.